What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Locked In Baseball podcast. I'm William Locke, and joining me, as he does for every episode, is Luis Barranco. Luis, we're back in our home cities, no longer in Alabama for the in-person podcast, but we're very excited for today's Game 7 recap, World Series preview, and of course, Mariners funeral. Maybe not as exciting, but Luis, how you doing?
Back in the, as we would say, the friendly confines of Chicago, Illinois, the north side, and back into Miami. How we do? How is the weather up there? I know we always talk about weather. How we do? I mean, I'm pleasantly mad because the weather up in Montgomery, Alabama was incredible. I got to wear a hoodie without sweating my butt off, and we are right next to the Montgomery Biscuit Stadium. So, I mean, it was pretty lit.
Pleasantly mad. I'm pleasantly content, I guess, with the weather. I don't know. We're always talking weather, but there is a chill in the air. It does finally kind of feel like October postseason baseball, and it's almost over, unfortunately. The Fall Classic is here, though. The World Series starts on Friday. It's like in the 40s and 50s here in Chicago. So would have been perfect if the Cubs were playing, if the Yankees were playing. But we will have the World Series in Los Angeles, in Toronto, probably under a dome. Nonetheless, lots of baseball to look forward to. Lots of cold weather to look forward to if you're into that too. I personally am not. I'm sad the summer is over.
I'm excited for winter. Winter is here. Winter arc is coming. I mean,
you have no winter. You live in Miami, if we're being honest.
You're just making me feel bad. You're just trying to put me down here. I thought we were supposed to help our friends and support our friends here and build them up and not make them feel bad that they live in a place where there's no like winter.
You got to move up here, man. To we can do in-person pods.
Hey, maybe you guys should comment. I've heard a lot of good feedback, a lot of listens to the last YouTube version of the pod when we were in Montgomery, Alabama. Let us know if you guys like that. I mean, I'd be willing to be flexible at doing some traveling here, up and down the great Midwest that is Chicago, Illinois. I mean, I hear O'Hare's a great airport. I mean, I'll put it to the test.
You can put that to the test. I'm going to tell you, we had some turbulence on the way in last night because it's always so windy in Chicago. Bumpy landing, and then you get taxi forever. We were in the Delta terminal. We were so far away from the baggage claim. Anyways, people don't care about that. They're here for the baseball.
It's the Windy City for a reason, but I think what people want to talk about is what happened last night.
Yes. Can I just say, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. As always, please tap in. We're at, I think, 185 subscribers right now, trying to get to 200 before the end of the calendar year. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. That's where we're most active social media-wise. Almost to 1,000 subscribers or followers on TikTok, almost to, I think, 700 on IG. So keep hitting that follow button, liking, commenting, all that stuff, sharing the posts with your friends. Helps the podcast visibility greatly. We've grown the most we've ever grown this season as we finally started to be a little more active on those platforms, posting clips and stuff. So want to see that growth continue. It's exciting for us. Obviously, we couldn't do it without you guys. So appreciate you all tuning in for this whole season. We're excited to preview the most important games of the season. Before we get that, Luis, I saw you were teeing up Game 7 because we do have to recap that game too.
I mean, we got two different versions of Game 7. I mean, you had Game 7 30,000 feet up, and I got Game 7 down here on land. But Game 7, I mean, the two best words in sports that we can listen to. What it delivered incredibly. I mean, the Seattle Mariners and Toronto Blue Jays gave up a Game 7 that I think we'll remember for a really long time. One truly for the history books. I mean, we can start out and talk about so many angles. But first inning, both teams started off putting up a run. I mean, you had the Josh Naylor play getting hit on the double play ball in the head. And then you had a Julio Rodriguez shot here in the third. And then Cal Raleigh hit a shot in the fifth. And it truly looked like the Seattle Mariners were in complete control. And they were going to hand the ball over to the pen and shut it down. And they were going to break the curse of that they had of not making the World Series. But in the seventh inning, George Springer gets paid the big bucks. Big game players make big-time plays. Hit a 3-run bomb off Eduard Bazardo after Brian Wu allowed 2 base runners on. And from then on, as they say, that was all she wrote as the Toronto Blue Jays came up and finished the game off, and they won 4-3. I mean, William, where do we begin? I mean, do we talk about the Seattle bullpen? Do we talk about, the big players showing up for both sides? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have a couple things I want to talk about, but it's really pick your poison type of game because I feel like we can micro analyze every decision made by both managers, and you can analyze the players and their actions last night. William, where do you want to start this one off?
I think the biggest storyline from Game 7 was Dan Wilson going to Eduard Bazardo in the 7th over Andrés Muñoz. Brian Wu had looked good up to that point. I think he was right in pulling Wu, though, allowing the first two batters on in the inning. And, bringing in Bazardo over Munoz, this was interesting because we had the exact conversation. I went back and listened to it on our last episode. We had the conversation. We were like, if there's a huge situation in the 5th or 6th inning, this one happened to be in the 7th, where, the bases are loaded or you have two guys on in an inning, and, do you go to Munoz early? We had that decision, and Wilson went with Bazardo. It felt like a more of an analytical decision than a manage with your heart situation, because I think my heart and probably Mariners fans' hearts around the country were saying, just go with Munoz, go with your best pitcher in that situation. They go to Bazardo. He's been kind of their pivot guy all season long, so he had been pitching in those situations all season, but he lets a sinker get too much of the plate, and George Springer, who statistically is one of the best postseason performers in the history of the game, he deposited into the left field bleachers, left field seats, and the Mariners were still in the game at that point, but it just felt like it sapped all energy from them, and they didn't do anything else the rest of the way.
Momentum is a thing, and I feel like you said, after that home run, I felt like the momentum completely went the other way in Toronto. Whatever pitcher was going to come out was going to be pitching off adrenaline and doing their best performance to get to the World Series. We talk about a lot of the Bazardo decision, but how about Brian Wu? I mean, we got to talk about a guy, that's not getting a lot of that decision of, I spoke about it in both pods prior, that if he would be pitching, but I mean, in both games, he let some traffic up, and, in Game 6 in Seattle, he gave up the traffic. That run ended up scoring, and if it wasn't for the heroics of Eugenio Suarez and the team, clutching up and helping out their pen, they don't win that game, and they don't go to Game 7. And when you look at last night, the same thing kind of happened in the sense that up 3-1, they had a little bit of traffic. Runner gets moved on after a sacrifice bunt. George Springer comes up to the plate and does his job, but then he didn't have the help of his of the hitters. And I feel like that's a decision that, okay, you want to talk about Bazardo and the Bazardo-Munoz debate, but it's not like Wu was pitching great. I mean, he was looking good throughout the season, and, coming off an injury, a pectoral injury, just throw him into the fire is tough. And I mean, he put up traffic. That's the problem. And ideally, as a fan, and of course as a manager, you don't want to have anybody on the base pass and not giving them an opportunity. And right now, the only thing that could have hurt him in yesterday's game was a 2-run bomb or a 3-run bomb. So if you allow either one runner on or two runners on, that would have been, disastrous for them. You can't get hurt off a solo shot, essentially. And that's my point in being like, at that point, you have to not get traffic on the base pass, and Wu allowed traffic on the base pass.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't 100% in the postseason, and I do think that's an interesting storyline. Looking at the Mariners retrospectively, is like, how differently would their postseason run look? How different would it look if Wu was just healthy and he never suffered that pec injury in the second to last week of the season? He was their best pitcher this whole season. I think he had like 20 consecutive games where he pitched 6+ innings. I mean, he was truly a consistent workhorse for them. And, he just suffers this kind of fluky, weird injury. It's not a common injury for pitchers. A pec injury, usually it's elbow, shoulder, like hamstring stuff. And it kind of swung their season in a way that they were hoping it didn't. I thought it was interesting, or, I wonder, would Wilson have pulled Wu if Jimenez didn't get that bunt down in that situation? And I think that's something that we got to give credit to Toronto, and I think we have. But their 7 through 9 guys the whole series produced, and even if it wasn't getting on hitting home runs, whatever. Like, they were always there, willing to put down the sacrifice bunt. And that sack bunt was huge, in my opinion, from Jimenez, because it forced Wilson's hand. Instead of first and second with one out, it was second and third with one out. And that's when Wilson decided to take Brian Wu out of the ball game. Bazardo comes in, and that was that. If they just got Jimenez to maybe he misses a couple bunts, fouls off a couple bunts, or pops out or strikes out or whatever, and runners don't advance, I'm very curious if Wilson would have just left Wu in. Obviously, we'll never know. That's not how things shook out, but I do got to give credit to the bottom half of the lineup for Toronto and getting the job done.
Can we also give credit to the Toronto pitching staff? I mean, their starting pitchers. I mean, last night, Toronto understood that it was all hands on deck. They understood that if you were a healthy pitcher and if you showed up to the clubhouse, you were ready to pitch. I mean, we first talk about Chris Bassett. Went one full inning, one strikeout. Kevin Gausman, yes, he allowed 3 walks, but no hits, no earned runs. He got through it. Sir Anthony Dominguez, 1 full inning, no hits, no walks. And then Jeff Hoffman just came and closed the door. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we talked about is Jeff Hoffman. Was he a closer? Was he a setup guy? And, he's getting paid the money like a top-end closer, and he fully closed the door. And that's something that, you have to give credit to Toronto, that their pitchers understood the assignment, executed, and got the outs. And I mean, that there's a reason why they're in the World Series, and Seattle's at home right now, not executing their pitches and just not executing at the end in the end game. It's a tough pill to swallow for Seattle fans, because when you look at, how great of a season they had, it came down to one hit and
one swing of the bat.
One swing without 1/2 an inning. And like I said, if you give up a sac fly, cool. You 2 outs, you need 1 more out. Could have been a tie game. Could have been down up 1, but they had the worst outcome possible. And that's just how baseball goes. And I mean,
that's baseball, man.
That's baseball. And Toronto fully, they fully understood what they needed to do. They embraced the opportunity, and they embraced the perk of having home field advantage, which I think is really getting underplayed in this series. The fact that they had Game 7 at home and say, this game is flipped in Seattle, who knows? Maybe the energy is completely different and the player's mindset is completely different than it is in Toronto than it was than in Seattle. So, I mean, Toronto, you play 162 to be able to defend home field. And what did Toronto do? They defended home field, and they took full advantage of defending their country and their field.
Yeah, on Bassett, I mean, he pitched, the 8th, I think it was, and he had only pitched in this postseason in Game 2 in mop-up duty when they lost 10-3. And, he comes in for a huge high-pressure situation, looked great, got two ground outs and a strikeout only in 10 pitches. The Seattle lineup, like we kind of said earlier, was just kind of lifeless after that Springer home run. And, in the 9th, 2 outs, no one on, Jeff Hoffman threw Julio Rodriguez 6 balls, and he struck out swinging on a pitch that was not really that close in the zone, with Cal Raleigh, the MVP, all-world type player, on deck waiting with his bat on his shoulder. That's a tough pill to swallow for Mariners fans, because Julio probably could have been on first in that situation. Also, Eugenio Suarez had that walk where it should have been a walk, probably. I think that was in the 8th inning or 7th inning. Missed opportunity there for Seattle, and they're going to be kicking themselves. I do think one key storyline, whatever takeaway for me from this series, is Toronto's resiliency in this series, man. They go down 2-0. They lose the first 2 games at home. That's a situation where essentially the odds are just completely stacked against you after that. I think it was 25 out of the last 28 instances that happened. That team had gone on to lose the series. So they faced resiliency in that regard, falling down 2-0, winning 2 games then on the road in Seattle, taking that thing back home to Toronto after losing a heartbreaking Game 5, odds stacked up against you. You win Game 6, and then in Game 7, down 3-1 late, you're battling. That's a tough spot, and they showed their resiliency. And Springer, just clutch baseball player, clutch hitter. Like I said earlier, one of the best postseason performers statistically of all time. He gets the job done. He hits the clutch home run, and the bullpen slams the door. And they're a resilient bunch. They faced a lot of adversity. They were doing this series, this whole postseason, without arguably their second best player in Bo Bichette. I mean, he was really productive for them this season. And, it's just production from a lot of guys 1 through 9. They're really hard to get out. And, the more I watched this series against Seattle, the more I felt like Toronto was just the better, deeper team because they get production 1 through 9. Their bullpen felt stronger, and their starting pitching did their job. Their starting pitching gave more length in this series than Seattle did, and I think they are the deserving winners. I do feel like the better team ultimately came out on top here, and we'll get to the World Series preview in a bit. But I do feel like Toronto, with the way they're constructed, shapes up pretty decently against this Dodgers team.
I mean, I think I was thinking about this on the flight playing home before the game started, and I think we texted about it before you took off. But I think I completely overestimated Seattle's pitching, and like I said, Toronto executed, and I think that's the biggest thing that we have to talk about. Toronto executed, and they've been a team that's been executing for the whole year. I mean, they're not here by accident. We want to talk about but those late game heroics. I mean, there's a reason why they're so good late game. They execute, and they were the number 1 team in the AL, and they deserve all the flowers that they need. And there's a reason why they're going to play LA, and the reason why they're going to host LA on Friday. And so my next question to you, and this is something I was thinking about at work today. Where does George Springer's home run racks up in recent postseason moments?
Okay.
Like, is it bigger than Juan Soto's home run? And I know you might be biased, but
it's bigger than Soto's home run.
Where does it stack up in place in the history of playoff moments?
I mean, you're putting me really on the spot there. I mean, Jose Altuve had that clutch home run in what was it, Game 6 of the CS a couple years ago against the Rangers, but they went on to lose that series. This was a Game 7 winner take all. Howie Kendrick had that really clutch home run in the World Series against the Astros in Game 7, if I'm not mistaken. That probably ranks above this because it was the World Series. This is bigger than the Soto home run because this was a Game 7. Soto was Game 5. The Yankees probably would have won that series, probably even won that game if he didn't hit that home run. Who knows? But yeah, that was off the top of the head. I mean, definitely. I mean, the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam last year was probably bigger because it won a game, but like, it's Game 7. That swing, that one swing of the bat sent them to the World Series. It's not as big as the David Freese home run, obviously. But
the David Freese's heroics when he went bottom 9th, trailing 7-5, down to the final strikes, final out, a 2-run triple off the right field wall, and then in the bottom of the 11th, he had a walk-off home run in the center field. I think that's like top.
I don't think anything's ever going to top that, at least in modern era. Bill Mazeroski, we talked about that one, 1960 walk-off home run to win the World Series. That's probably the number one. That's pretty much impossible to top. I get Joe Carter, walk-off home run to win the World Series for the Blue Jays, and that was 93 when they went back-to-back, 92, 93. But this was the CS, so it is a step back from the World Series. But, I mean, it's super clutch.
I think there's some significance because it's also in Toronto. A lot of these places that we're naming off are in very big teams, like the St. Louis Cardinals that have been a winning franchise. Like, Toronto isn't normally in these situations, as we have talked about before. So I think that has to have some value. It's like if this happened for Seattle, I think this moment would be so huge up there in the books. But I mean, that was just a crazy, crazy homer. So I mean, shout out to Toronto. But let's look ahead. I mean, this is pretty sad for Seattle. I mean, what's up?
Are we going to do the Seattle funeral later after the World Series preview? Or are we
I want to do it now because I've been thinking about it. And last night, I was watching Monday Night Football at 10 o'clock, the Seattle Seahawks game. And I was going to bed and I woke up and was like, how do I frame this in a positive light for Seattle? And I can't really frame it in a positive light because, a lot of their moves, and you got to give credit to the front office, were win now moves. Looking at their contracts, Eugenio Suarez is a free agent after the season. Jorge Polanco is a player option. He's definitely going to cash in on this postseason. You also have guys like Josh Naylor, a free agent, and they're carrying a lot of money on guys like J.P. Crawford, owed $12 million. And, Randy Rosarena is making 11.3 this year off arbitration, which I don't know if that's a number you're going to want to exceed after what he did this postseason. And I mean, yeah, they got them a lot of money coming off the books from Mitch Haniger, Donovan Solano, Rowdy Tavares, but it's already hard to get hitters to go to Seattle, and it's going to be a tough offseason on how you try to keep everybody on the same team, because we know Suarez is going to get a bag and Josh Naylor is going to get a large contract as well. So, I mean, the one saving thing is that, you do have guys like your whole rotations under the books with Bryce Miller, Brian Wu on cheap pre-arbitration deals, George Kirby the same way on arbitration, and Logan Gilbert. I mean, I think they may be a team sneakily that might have to trade one of those guys, like maybe a Luis Castillo, to a team that needs some starting pitching to get some hitters back.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation that Seattle's in, because we're kind of in the same situation heading into this offseason as we were last offseason, in the sense that it had always been a question of if that lineup, shows up, and because we know they have the pitching, and they will continue to have the pitching. It's all young, it's all locked up long term. But this was the year that you had the MVP caliber season from Cal Raleigh. Is Cal Raleigh going to replicate his form of 2025 again? Probably not. This was probably the best season Cal Raleigh's ever going to have. Julio, he's going to be there. He's kind of the one guy you can really point to as your franchise guy, even though he didn't necessarily perform like that in the playoffs. He had a clutch home run in Game 7, but he wasn't an MVP caliber player in the playoffs or this season. This was the year you went out and traded for Eugenio Suarez, who hit the grand slam in Game 5. This was the year you went out and traded for a Josh Naylor. I don't think either of those guys are going to be back. They're going to get paid. This was the year that you had a clutch postseason performance from Jorge Polanco. And like you said, he's got a player option that he's certainly going to decline for $6 million, because he's going to make more than that on the open market. He's 32, but he'll make more than that. So now it's kind of like, all right, well, you get as pretty much as close as you possibly can to making a World Series for the first time in franchise history, and you don't make it. It's going to be 50 years basically since their inception that they haven't made the World Series. And you just got to feel for them, because it's easy to say, oh, we'll be back next year, we'll make it back. But when you're that close, and you can taste it, I mean, you were literally, I thought,
you were 9 outs away.
Yeah, I thought Joe Davis had a really good quote during the game. I think it was in the 5th inning or whatever. He said, I'm trying to find it. I texted it to you.
Yeah.
He said 49 years has become 15 outs. And I thought that was really good from Davis. Just showed you how close and like how long the buildup has been and how close they were. And they came up short. And I mean, that is pretty much as heartbreaking as it gets for Mariners fans. I do feel for them.
I do also want to give credit to Joe Davis. Joe Davis has been calling great games. I mean, it's been a big thing since Joe Buck went to ESPN. Like, if Fox can find a guy to replicate it, but I think Joe Davis last night also coming with the Andrés Muñoz comments, and he's just having really great one-liners. So shout out to him. But I mean, when you look at the whole landscape of the American League next year, especially the AL West, every team but the Angels are ascending or going to stay get a little bit better. I mean, the Sacramento A's, the Athletics, they're going to get better because that young core is going to take that next step. They should be players in free agency, maybe signing a couple arms. They're going to definitely be in the mix. Houston, they're going to run it back. And I mean, Houston's going to be better next year, healthy with Carlos Correa. They're going to have Jeremy Pena.
Jordan will finally be healthy.
Yeah, they're going to be healthy. So, the only thing that they might have a minus is Framber Valdez. But I mean, they do a great job in having arms in the system. Aside from them, the Rangers, they're in a weird offseason, but they're still going to be a good team to play against. So that's 3 teams out of 5 that we already expect to be good. And so it's going to be really hard to beat the division. And then when you look at the whole AL, I mean, the Yankees are going to be there. Boston's going to get better. Toronto's not going anywhere. And that's just off the top of my head. I mean, the Central's going to Central, but I mean, those teams are already there. Oh, and Baltimore. We expect Baltimore to not have the season from hell that they had this season. So, I mean, for as much as I'm trying to do a positive spin on this, it's hard.
It's really tough, man. It did feel like this was their year. Everything had kind of gone right. The only thing that didn't go right for them in the postseason was Brian Moo's injury. Otherwise, it just felt like everything was falling in place for them. And I don't know. Cal Raleigh is a great player. Is he 60 plus home runs great every single season? No, he's not. He's not as good as Aaron Judge. That's the difference between Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh. Aaron Judge, as long as he stays healthy, knock on wood, he's going to come out and hit above 300, hit probably above 50 home runs next season because that's just the player he is. Cal Raleigh, for as great of a season as he had, there's a chance he hits 240 again next season and hits 40 home runs instead of 60, which is, don't get me wrong, that's a great season for a catcher, but it's not just the otherworldly level season he had this season. It's just, I don't know. And you didn't get much from Randy in the postseason. You need more from him. The positive spin is that they have the pitching. It's controllable. You have trade chips there. I think you would have to move on from one of them. It remains to be seen who, but they have a surplus of pitching. And if they do want to stock the lineup instead of, going out and signing free agents, I think that would be how they do it.
You know who'd be a fun fit there? Just off the top of my head.
I was thinking Murakami.
No. Well,
Bregman?
I think Murakami is definitely there. I don't think they'll be in the Bregman sweepstakes of the money, but I think Murakami is definitely a sweep, like a very good fit because of the Japanese connection, them being in Seattle Ichiro, and them having that hole at third base, and they can save a little bit of cash there maybe. But how about Jarren Duran out there in Seattle? You put Jarren Duran at the leadoff position. You slide Julio second. They had let's look at who their lineup. I know they had Randy leading off at some points, but they moved him down. So they have Julio leading off, Cal second, Josh Naylor third, and Polanco. What if you stack Jarren Duran to lead off, Julio second, and give Cal Raleigh two speedsters in front of him? And he can just extra base hit and hit home runs. That's a pretty fun lineup. I mean, Jarren Duran's going to give you some good speed, some good energy that I think this team needs. Gives them like a FU mentality out there. I kind of like the fit. And but what does Boston need this offseason? Boston needs pitching.
Boston needs that elite number 2 guy behind Crochet. And I do think Seattle, with the plethora of pitching that they have, could be a good trade partner for them. It's a question of, do you want to see how do you sort out the outfield? Julio stays in center probably, so Duran in left, Randy in right. How do you work out the outfield? But I do think I like the fit. I think it makes sense. I do think Duran will probably get traded this offseason, so I could see it.
Or maybe they do something like a pitcher for Masataka Yoshida and Duran. You take both of them. You take the Yoshida money, makes Boston be a player, get a starting pitcher. And, Boston has a plethora of young players that are ready to come up to the major league level. And, Boston will have the money to replace. I don't know. I think if you add Yoshida and Duran out there in Seattle, I mean, that lineup gets really good. I don't know. What do you think about adding both of those guys or even one?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think they'll be active this offseason. Yoshida, DH, but he can play some outfield. So, yeah, I think it would make sense. They're going to have to do something this offseason to beef up the lineup again because they're losing Suarez and Naylor. I know Suarez wasn't great when he came over to Seattle, but again, we talked about it a couple days ago. Like, the grand slam that he hit in Game 5 kind of makes up for it. And unfortunately, that home run is probably going to get lost in the history of baseball because they ended up losing the series. That was kind of the last main highlight you remember from Seattle in the series, but that was still, at the time, an incredibly clutch home run. The clutchest home run in Mariners history. Unfortunately, again, it's just going to be forgotten.
I just don't think it's a fit, Suarez in Seattle. I think we've seen it twice.
No.
I think it's time. The way you fix Seattle. Now, here's the positive spin. You go trade one of those controllable arms, get Jarren Duran and Masataka Yoshida because Boston will want to get off that money, and you get Murakami. And I think your lineup gets, I don't want to say infinitely better, but your lineup gets solid. You're still going to have to find your Naylor and your second base replacement, but I do feel like that's a way you improve the team. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But
they got some.
What's up?
They got some good prospects. I was just going to pull up their
Harry Ford. They got Harry Ford, but I mean, he's a catcher, so he'll be probably on the move. Or they move Cal Raleigh to a DH position. I mean, it'll be interesting.
You'd think Emerson Hancock, the shortstop third baseman, is going to come up soon. Also, Cade Anderson, that was a steal, arguably the most talented player in the draft last year. They got him at like third or something when they picked him. Left-handed pitcher out of LSU. So Harry Ford's still there. Yeah, Lazaro Montez, outfielder. They got dudes in that farm ready. They got dudes in that farm.
Emerson Hancock is a pitcher, my guy.
Did I say Emerson Hancock? I meant to say Colt Emerson.
Yes, yeah, Colt Emerson. So they got our switch pitcher. So hey, it'll be interesting to see. But I think it's time, man. I think it's time we flip the page.
Wait. Can I say just one final note on the ALCS?
Yeah,
Mariners went 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position in Game 7. On the series, they hit 195 with men on base, and their 7 through 9 hitters hit 0.71 in those instances. They're the 4th team in MLB history to win the first 2 games of the series in the best of 7 format on the road, but lose the series. And then I have some quotes listed from Dan Wilson, Munoz, and Bazardo, but I do feel like they're kind of what you would expect them to say. There's nothing really super noteworthy from them, but Dan Wilson basically just mentioned that Bazardo was the guy that they go to in those situations, that they've gone to in those situations all season long, in the pivot role, as he said. And it seems like he was dead set on going to him. He wasn't thinking about Munoz or anybody else in that situation.
But yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time to talk about the 2 Titans that are meeting up here in Toronto and LA, especially Toronto on Friday night at 8 p.m. I mean, you have the LA Dodgers, the juggernaut that they are, and you have the Toronto Blue Jays, which for a lot of fans think the Blue Jays are a Cinderella story, or the Blue Jays are, small market, mid-market team. But no. Let's set this straight. I mean, it's going to be a talking point. Toronto has money. They've been handing out contracts, and let's not make this be like Toronto is just this little small team going up in LA. Like, Toronto spent some cash. They offered Shohei Ohtani a lot of money. They offered Juan Soto a lot of money. They gave out the 3rd largest contract in Major League history with the Vladimir Guerrero contract. They're paying a bunch of dudes. So let's not lose sight of that when we discuss and we look at who Toronto is as a baseball team. So
NBA opening night, you got basketball on the mind.
I do, but that's what I'm saying. They offered Corbin Burns a lot more money than Arizona did. So I mean, let's not lose sight that Toronto is a big spender.
Yeah, the payroll this year, $258 million. I can pull up where that ranks right now, but it's not. That's not Detroit, Cleveland levels. They do spend money. The story with them in free agency has been like they're kind of the bridesmaid. They're never the bride. Yeah, exactly. So this season, their active payroll, according to SpotTrack, ranks 3rd. Oh, that's for 2026. They already updated for 2026. Yeah. I was going to say that felt really high. Their tax payroll ranked 5th in Major League Baseball behind the Phillies, Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers this season. So they do spend money. They went band for band with Ohtani. Ohtani just decided to go to LA instead of Toronto, which I think is an interesting storyline from this series. There's a lot of interesting places to go with this series. I talked about earlier, I think this is going to be a really fun series. I do feel like Toronto matches up better with the Dodgers than Seattle did. I think if Seattle made it through, they probably would have got swept or lost in 5. But for me, the way Toronto just grinds you down with their at-bats, and they're so hard to get out, they do not strike out, makes this series interesting.
And I agree. I mean, you got guys like Ernie Clement. I mean, I think everybody has become an Ernie Clement fan this postseason. Addison Barger is one of the most underrated right fielders. I mean, he's a StatCast darling. And they had what I like about Toronto's lineup is that it's versatile. Like, you never know what they're going to put out, and they play good defense. They have ex-Gold Glovers and Andres Jimenez and Dalton Varsho. Alejandro Kirk probably is going to win one this year. And, you have a playoff performer. And I think when you have playoff performers like Vladimir Guerrero, you can never be counted out. I mean, guys that live for the moment and are ready for the at-bat, I mean, that just feeds to you. I mean, when your best player is setting the table, that juice goes all across the lineup. He's setting the example. When your leader and commander in chief is making, the best out of his opportunities, you got to step it up, and you don't want him just to carry the whole team. And that's what Toronto. I think the biggest thing with Toronto is, will their starting pitching continue to execute? And I think the Dodgers win, and this is what we're going to talk about, and we'll save it for later. The Dodgers win if, the Toronto Blue Jays win if, and for me, the Toronto's Blue Jays win if two things happen. If they continue to grind out the lineup continues to grind out at bats, and they can get to the Dodgers bullpen, and if the pitching executes to a high level. If those two things happen, Toronto's going to have a really good chance at winning the series.
Yeah, interesting stat on the Blue Jays as a team this postseason. They have struck out 64 times in 11 games, which is less than the Yankees, Brewers, Cubs, and Tigers. Obviously, the Brewers made the NLCS, but that is less than the Yankees, Cubs, and Tigers. 3 teams that didn't even make it to the CS. They played 11 games. The Yankees played 7, the Cubs played 8, and the Dodgers played 8. That's insane. This team does not strike out. And I think that is the single biggest storyline, in my opinion, in the World Series this year is LA starting pitching versus a lineup in Toronto that just does not strike out, and they have quality at bats and they grind you down. For me, the Blue Jays win the World Series if they get to LA starting pitching and force them to go to the pen early. And when I say early, I don't mean the 3rd or 4th inning. I just mean the 5th, 6th, or 7th inning. Because it seems like this whole postseason, the Dodgers starting pitching has gone deep, deep, deep into these games. And statistically, you look at the numbers, Dodgers, their starting pitching, the rotation leads the playoffs in innings pitched at 64.1. Second place is Seattle with 52.1. That is 12 more innings than the second place team. The Mariners played 2 less games. The Dodgers have played 2 less games than the Mariners in the postseason this season. Dodger relievers have thrown 27.2 innings in the playoffs, which is 6th behind Detroit and Chicago, 2 teams that lost in the division round. Dodgers, their starting pitching has a 1.40 ERA with 81 strikeouts in the playoffs, averaging over 6 innings per start. The 4 starters that they've ran out this year, plus Roki Sasaki, have combined to record 80% of the Dodgers out this postseason, including 87% in the NLCS. That's from Thomas Harrigan of MLB.com. That is, in my opinion, bar none, the most important matchup of this series. Can Toronto just knock out these pitchers in the 5th or 6th inning and make the Dodgers use their bullpen? We haven't really seen the Dodgers bullpen outside of Trinan Vesia and Roki Sasaki this postseason. Can they make guys like Emmett Shaheen pitch? Can they make guys like, Anthony Banda, Jack Dreyer, Justin Roblisky? Like, can they force those guys into the game? Clayton Kershaw, can they make him come in and, in mop-up duty or in, long relief? Like, that is where this series is going to be won and lost, in my opinion.
I can't agree with that more. I mean, if Toronto can get to the bullpen and get to that bullpen, I really like their chances. But on the flip side, when you look at the Dodgers win if the starting pitchers continue to pitch lights out. I mean, the starting pitchers for the LA Dodgers, as you said, have been elite, and they've been nasty, right out nasty. And I feel like they can control the game. They can shut down the lineups. And I'd like to see if they continue to do that, get deep into it and shut down the lineups. I mean, it's going to be really hard because, the Dodgers right now, from top to bottom lineup wise, are all contributing right now. And I mean, you have Kike Hernandez, who right now is hitting at another level in the playoffs. And guys like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani, they all have the playoff experience. They all have the World Series experience. The moment will not be too big for the Dodgers. Now, will the moment be too big for the Toronto Blue Jays?
None of these guys, except Springer, have played in the World Series. That's just off the top of the head. But Vlad, no. Gausman, no. Scherzer. Scherzer's got that postseason experience. Interesting note too. Bo Bichette seems like he's healthy now with a knee injury. He hasn't played since the middle of September when he hurt the knee in Yankee Stadium. Where do you slot him? I'd think you probably move Jimenez back to second base, and then IKF is benched, 100%. And you got Bichette at short. But is he going to be rusty?
100%.
He hasn't played in a long time.
I mean, and the Dodgers are not a team you're trying to get your footing on with. Blake Snell's going, but Blake Snell's going game 1. He's been an alien, and then you have Yoshinobu Yamamoto game 2. So
that's not really easing back into
that's not
easing
play. That's like, oh yeah, you're gonna go play the Monstars game 1 and game 2, and then game 3 probably is Otani. Game 4, who gets the ball? Game 4.
I think it's game 3 will be Glasnow, game 4 Otani. That's what they did last time. I think they'll just keep it the same.
They'll just keep it the same. I mean, right now. So, hey, it'll be interesting. I mean, how do the Dodgers win? I mean, I said if their pitching can continue the controlling. What do you think, William?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers win the World Series, and I agree with the pitching. But I think if they win the World Series or they win the World Series, if they continue to crush right-handed pitching, that this is a team, the Dodgers, that has struggled against lefties in the postseason, a 656 OPS versus lefties, versus an 864 OPS versus righties in the postseason. That 864 OPS against righties leads Major League Baseball. Toronto, as we know, they're a very right-handed heavy team. Gausman, Yasavage, Bieber, Scherzer, their starters, all right-handers. Their best relievers, Hoffman, Dominguez, Varland, all righties. Their only real lefties on this team are Brendan Little, Mason Fluharty, and Eric Lauer. I would say, respectfully, like the weak point of that bullpen, we saw Brendan Little give up the grand slam to Suarez in game 5. So that, I think, is a key storyline to watch out for too. You look at the Dodgers, Freeman, Otani, lefties. Those guys have struggled against lefties in the postseason. Muncy, same thing. Those guys, I expect them to be active and kind of at it in the postseason or in the World Series now, that they're basically going to be facing exclusively right-handed pitchers. And I think from a Dodgers perspective, that's what swings this series, because the Dodgers have faced a good chunk of lefties in the postseason, and we haven't really seen their offense explode yet. We saw Otani explode in game 4 against the Brewers with the 3 home runs, but they only scored 5 runs in that game. Like, let's see them face these right-handed pitchers consistently. There is a world in which the Dodgers starting pitching is just nails again, and they end up crushing these righties, and they're scoring 5, 6, 7, 8 runs a game, and Toronto can't keep up because the Dodgers pitching is so good. So I think that's an interesting storyline to watch as well.
I think the Dodgers offense is due for an explosion game. I mean, they played with the Reds. The whole team wasn't there because you had Edman wasn't playing. It's hard, man. I just think that the Dodgers starting pitching, I mean, you have 3 guys that are top 15 in the major leagues for starting pitchers. You have 3 S-tier pitchers in Yamamoto, Otani, and Blake Snell right now. So it's going to be really, really hard. And you have Glasnow with an A-tier. I mean, Mad Max is going to have to turn back the clock one game. Kevin Gausman's going to it's a big ask, but if there's one thing, as we say with the Blue Jays, they're going to give you quality at bats, and they're a resilient team. And you can never count them out. They're going to go out with a puncher's boxing chance, a puncher's chance to win the series. And there's a reason why we play the games, because it's as we say, it's baseball. A lot can happen. The ball can bounce one way, like it bounced in game I think it was game 1, if I remember correctly, with that ball that hit off the center field wall against the Brewers that gave them that inning-ending double play.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers have. Baseball is an interesting game. The ball bounces different ways, the ball spins different ways, and it breaks different ways. That Toronto can just get hot, turn back the clock, and Dodgers pitching could just not show up, starting pitchers, and you see the Blue Jays champions. I mean, you have the Drake Kendrick Lamar battle reignited here, Toronto versus LA, but I mean, Drake's wears Otani jerseys and now rooting for Toronto. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, the Blue Jays certainly are at a rest disadvantage. I mean, they have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off before game 1 on Friday. The Dodgers have not played since last Thursday. They have last Friday, they have a full week off. This is the 5th time since the LCS round became best of 7 in 1985 that one LCS was a sweep, Brewers, Dodgers, and the other went 7 games, Mariners, Blue Jays. In the previous 4 instances, the team that played the 7-game series, this would be the Blue Jays in this instance, went on to win the World Series as well. So that kind of goes up against that rest narrative that the Dodgers kind of have right now. So interesting stat there. I thought that was from MLB.com.
Would you rather be playing with this adrenaline, or would you rather be resting and just chilling at home?
See, If it's any other team besides the Dodgers, I'd say you'd rather be playing, but I don't really think it matters for the Dodgers. They kind of just feel like a machine. That said, I think baseball is a sport that you want to be playing day in and day out. That's what you do over the course of a 162 game season. I mean, think about it. We have a distinct break between the first and second half of the season, and there are oftentimes a clear delineation between the first half stats and the second half stats for players. A lot of times,
Julio Rodriguez.
Of course, a lot of times players have really good first halves and fall off completely in the second half. I don't know if that few days break off is why or whatever it is mentally, but we do see that. So
James Wood,
PCA, even though his struggles kind of started before the second half of the season started. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the rest thing here. For the Dodgers, I don't think it's going to matter. I think for the Blue Jays, it is going to matter. I think it actually helps the Blue Jays that they played a 7-game series and they're not going to have like a super long break. That said, 3 days off for anybody in baseball is a long time. For hitters, for pitchers, like you kind of just want to be playing the game. I think another storyline here is if Vladdy can just continue to hit at the level that he is. I posted like a joint starting 9 for the World Series, and I only had 3 Blue Jays in it: Ernie Clement, Vlad Jr., and Dalton Varsho out in center. And Dodgers fans were saying that I should have Freddie over Vladdy, but Vladdy's been the best player in the postseason this year. He's had a historically great postseason: 6 homers, 442 average, 1.440 OPS with 3 doubles, 12 ribbies, only 3 strikeouts and 43 at bats. He's been incredible. 510 OPS, like worth every penny. Just 4 players have finished a single postseason with at least 50 plate appearances and an OPS of 1.300 or higher. And only 2 of them, Paul Molitor, 1.378 for the Blue Jays in 93, and Alex Rodriguez, 1.308 for the Yankees in 09, did so while winning a title. As a Yankee fan, we always talk about the generational run that Alex Rodriguez had in the 2009 playoffs when they won the World Series. I blanked on the name for a second there. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a full 100 points in the OPS category, better than that Alex Rodriguez run in 09. So he has quite literally statistically had one of the best postseason runs in MLB history. Can he keep doing that against the best pitching he's going to have faced in the postseason so far? Some of the best pitching he's faced this whole season. That's another storyline for me to watch. I think it really benefits Toronto that the first 2 games are at home so they can kind of keep that momentum rolling. We talked about all season how this stadium has been a complete fortress for the Blue Jays. They play better at home, even though they went out into Seattle and won 2 out of 3 there. Toronto needs to defend home field. I know that sounds obvious, but keep that thing rolling in games 1 and game 2 in Toronto, and hopefully go up back to LA up 2-0. And then who knows? I personally don't think LA is like a fortress in the postseason. And the only reason I say that is because it's a huge stadium, but it's so open. The Rogers Center kind of keeps the noise tucked in there because of the roof and the way it's constructed. LA is a vast, expansive stadium. The noise doesn't really get trapped.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything you said right there. I mean, I was just wanting to compare fan bases, and no offense to the Dodgers fans, but I just think Rogers Center is going to be a absolute madhouse. I don't think there's going to be an environment that's going to match up this postseason close to that. And I think Toronto played in another madhouse that was T-Mobile Park, and the Dodgers, they played at American Home Mortgage Field, and that's it. They
played in Philly, perhaps the cauldron of all cauldrons in MLB. They won both games there,
but they won both games. But I mean, Rogers Center is going to be a absolute fortress. But let's get down to what the listeners want, William. Let's do predictions, man. Who you got? How many games? And give me MVP.
I think this series is closer than the books are saying. Right now, it's -215 Dodgers on DraftKings. I think Toronto is going to get to LA's starting pitching better than Philly did, well, certainly better than Milwaukee did, and better than the Reds did. This is going to be the toughest lineup the starting pitching for the Dodgers has faced all postseason. That said, I think the playoff experience for the Dodgers, I mean, we saw them celebrate the NLCS as if they won a random game in July. They've been there. They've done that. They have 4 elite starting pitchers, and they will start. One of them will start every single game in this World Series. They don't have to worry about, who's starting game 4? Oh, who's starting game 5? Oh, are we going to start this guy in short rest? Like, they have their guys. They haven't been tested per se in this postseason. They haven't played a ton of close games, which is maybe something to watch out for. The Blue Jays have played a lot of close, tight, clutch games. But I'm betting on the experience. I'm betting on the better roster, the better pitching. Most importantly, pitching wins in the postseason. Hitting the long ball wins in the postseason. And Toronto's actually been hitting the long ball better than the LA Dodgers have in the postseason. But I think the Dodgers hit more home runs in this series. I think it's closer than the experts think, but I think the Dodgers win in 6 in Toronto. Toronto pushes it back, forces the series back to Toronto, but I think the Dodgers get it done in 6. And my MVP, it's hard to pick against the dude. He's going to win the regular season MVP. He's going to win the NLCS MVP, and he's going to win the World Series MVP. It's going to be Shohei Ohtani. It's going to be hard to bet against a dude or pick against a dude that, let's say he hits a few home runs. Let's say he has a good start in game 4 or whenever he goes. I think it's going to be Ohtani winning the MVP.
I'm actually going to go against the grain here. I'm taking Dodgers in 5. I mean, I feel like the LA Dodgers are just a juggernaut of a team. I think their starting pitching is way too good, as I mentioned earlier. I think Yamamoto is going to be great. I think Shohei is going to be good. And I just think they just get it done in 5. I think the Blue Jays do steal one game and make it interesting, but I feel the Dodgers close it out in 5 games. Back-to-back champions. First time we've seen back-to-back champions since the New York Yankees in 99 and 2000. And I'm going to take Mookie Betts as my World Series MVP. Mookie Betts has been having a good postseason, and I feel he's going to show up. And I feel like if he gets his World Series MVP, he's going to put himself in rarefied air, and he's going to be in the conversations as one of the better players to ever play this game. I mean, I think he's very underrated right now. I think what he's been doing, playing multiple positions and producing at a high level, I just think he's going to go nutty.
So if he won a World Series this year, it'd be 4 World Series. He has the MVP. He's an 8-time All-Star, 6-time Gold Glove winner. He got a batting title and a 7-time Silver Slugger. So he'd add on a World Series MVP to that. Obviously, it was his name Stephen Pierce that won it in 2018 when the Red Sox won. It was like one of the more random World Series MVPs. So that would be another notch in his cap. I think it would require him to kind of go crazy to win it because Ohtani pitches in a game and does well hitting.
I just don't think Ohtani's going to go nutty hitting. I just don't see it. I think we might see a very inconsistent Ohtani this postseason. And I know that last game could have been flick the switch. And I mean, honestly, if I'm the Blue Jays, why even pitch to Ohtani? Just go at other players. And I think they're going to go at those other guys in the lineup. And I mean, that's where they're going to have to produce. If you want a deep sleeper, really deep sleeper, you can take a Will Smith MVP, which I think that would be a very interesting one. If you want to go really deep and really go nutty with it, take a Kike Hernandez MVP.
I mean, he's a playoff performer. If Toronto wins, who wins MVP? Probably Vlad, right?
Has to be Vlad. Vlad has to be the guy. If Vlad is not producing, I don't see how Toronto can get out.
And yeah, I mean, for as great as the Springer home run was last night in Game 7, he was hobbled. I know he's DHing, whatever. He doesn't have to play the field, but he wasn't limping around the field, running the bases, kind of like Kirk Gibson style. Will that impact his hitting performance in the World Series? I don't think so. I think, the 3 days off to heal, recover, whatever he's got to do, probably get some shots, cortisone injections or whatever the heck they do. I think he'll be fine. But that is, I think if it's not Vlad for Toronto, it'd probably be Springer or Ernie Clement. I mean, shit, dude's been incredible.
I know. So I got Dodgers in 5. Mookie Betts MVP for me.
I thought about Dodgers in 5 too.
I wanted to say 6, but I just think 5. I think they lose. Ohtani's inconsistencies will continue, and I just think he'll get walked a lot. That he won't be that big of a difference maker, and I think it'll set the table for other guys to really thrive on the opportunity. And Mookie Betts, I mean, man, oh man, he is a ball player, as they would say. He is a good old ball player. Hitting so.
If they win in 5, it would be a 13-2 postseason, which I think statistically would go down as the best postseason run of all time. If they sweep, it would be 13-1. I picked them in 6, which would be 13-3, which is still incredible.
It's so incredible that they just went through the buzzsaw that is the NL. They went through the best team in the NL and the second best team in the NL, and here they are. I mean, we have the World Series of the 2 best possible teams that you can have.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee, we talked about, they were the number 1 overall team this year in the NL, but nobody was really sold on Milwaukee. And then Philadelphia was great, but I mean, you have to talk about how Philadelphia was hobbled by injury with Zach Wheeler, and they didn't have their ace. And I mean, the Dodgers are the healthiest they've been this season. I mean, they have Tommy Edman back, Will Smith's there, and all their starting pitchers are magically healed, ready to go for the World Series. It kind of seems like they plan to be here and ready to go for this moment. And that goes the same thing for Toronto. I mean, they're getting Bo Bichette back, but I mean, it's good to see both teams healthy and at their strongest positions.
Yeah, it is an interesting thought of the Dodgers, and we talked about it in a recent episode of how they were banged up all season, especially with that starting rotation, and those guys are a lot more rested than other pitchers across the league are. Is this going to be some type of model that teams look at moving forward? And I know there's rules around like phantom IL stints and stuff, but if a pitcher has some nagging injury, do they just like kind of shut him down for a month or 2 in the regular season?
Soreness.
Yeah, they give him a little break, give him some time to heal up instead of pushing 200 innings, which is that mark is so rare in baseball these days. Only a select few actually reach 200 innings pitched, but instead of pushing 150 plus innings, just take the time off, rest, recover. Instead of the 150, maybe you pitch 100 innings, maybe even 80 innings, so you're fresh for the postseason. Give them a little ramp up in August and September, and then they're ready to go. I think the Dodgers, and I know Snell, Glasnow, those guys were injured. Ohtani was coming back from Tommy John. Like, they were very legit injuries, but that rest really did help them this year, and them all being fresh and ready for the postseason. They are the healthiest. The Dodgers are the healthiest they've been all season long heading into the World Series and throughout the postseason. So I do think there's some value in just like not killing yourself over the 162 game season, not forcing yourself to grind through it as a pitcher. And as a position player, like, these guys are healthy and ready to go for the World Series. And it's good to see that the Blue Jays are too. Very interesting to see what happens with Bichette, in my opinion.
Can't agree more. But I mean, that's why we play the games, and I'm ready for Friday. I mean, it's time. We're gonna have podcasts coming out hot and heavy. We're going live after every game.
I think we should. I think we should go live or record after every game. I got nothing else going on. I don't think so.
I don't got nothing else. I'm on my winter arc. I'm hibernating from now on.
This is the last. I mean, we got at minimum 4 baseball games left until March, so we got to enjoy it while we can.
We do. So, hey, keep it locked. I mean, follow us on YouTube, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, on the talk. Make sure you follow the Substack. William has an article coming soon, hopefully by the end of the season.
Yep. We'll think about that. Been a busy summer, but I'll try to get to it.
But now this feels weird that we're doing this now in person now. Kind of like the in-person thing.
I know we should get a studio and everything.
Maybe we should just get in your couch and just do it from the couch, and we can have Kayla do a background again.
The studio manager.
Yeah,
it is a little nostalgic previewing the World Series because it does feel like we're toward the end, man. Toward the end,
dude. Let's talk about what a season. I mean, we started the year back in March at home, typical set. Where have the podcast taken us this year? I've been to Yankees, Marlins. You were at a bunch of Cubs games, White Sox games this year.
St. Louis.
I was
Boston.
We forgot the Boston. I mean, I got to see the Atlanta Stadium at some point this year. We did Montgomery, Alabama podcast, a podcast out in Atlanta, a podcast out in LA. Yep. Kiwa Island.
We both went to playoff games. Yeah, I mean it's fun, man. It's fun. Baseball season's so long, 6-7 months, and I like it because it's kind of like life. You gotta. The season has its up and downs. Life has its up and downs and ups and downs, and you kind of just gotta keep moving forward. And we've enjoyed. I mean, we've done 2 a week every single week except the 4th of July.
I mean, the season was a meat grinder. I'll say that, but I mean, it's just like life. Life is just a meat grinder. There's days where you're really high and you're batting 1,000, and there's days where you just Javi Baez and having the golden sombrero striking out. So, I mean, as William always says, and I think that should be clipped up at some point and posted. We got to enjoy that series win over the Yankees, or that series win over the White Sox, or that complete game shutout out of a rookie, or the call up of Roman Anthony and how it re-energizes the team. You got to enjoy those moments, because at the end of the day, when we get down to the World Series, there can only be one champion. And with that, Blue Jays fans should be proud of their team. Mariners fans should be proud of their team to making it to baseball's Final Four. And Dodgers fans should be very proud of getting to this moment, because it is very hard to win. It takes talent, but a lot of times it's also just luck. The ball bounces one way, the ball bounces another way, matchups, injuries, it's just luck.
Yeah, it's only one team wins. Only one team wins. 29 fan bases go home sad, but like you said, there are reasons to cheer and be happy about the season, enjoy the season, even for Pirates fans when they had good stretches throughout the season and Paul Skeens starts.
Every fifth day, or your manager getting fired. I mean, if the Yankees fired, I mean, we don't wish anybody to get fired, but I mean, if Aaron Boone were to get fired or were to resign just sporadically during the season, I think Yankees fans would throw a parade on 161 in the Bronx.
Unfortunately, I don't think it'll ever happen. I think we'll be 70 years old. I don't know how actually Aaron Boone probably will be over 100 at that point, but we'll be 50 years old and Aaron Boone will still be setting up the lineup every day for the Yankees.
Also, we'll be doing Yes Network with and take Joe Girardi's spot
again
with Michael Gay.
Will Aaron Boone take Joe Girardi's spot again after he retires or whatever? However things end, is he going to move back into the Yes booth? Who knows?
Elevated into a senior role position, into a consultant role.
Yeah. I feel like we got to do an episode of just like recapping everything that's gone around the league, because there's been a lot of news. Kurt Suzuki, Angels manager, hired today.
No, I have my comments, but I'll save that for a future podcast. But, I think this is a good way to go off the World Series preview. We're just kind of dragging here. So keep it locked in. Podcast coming out end of the week.
Yes, sir. Thank you as always. Until probably Friday night. Catch you later. Peace out.